Welcome to Endwalker. In this guide, we'll go over all of the actions the Pugilist and Monk learns from level 1 to 50 in order. We'll go over how each action is meant to be used, and when applicable, the recommended way to use it. Please refer to the video in the top right corner for explanations of role actions specifically. Bootshine is your starting action and weapon skill. This functions as your combo starter, and additionally has an extra effect when you use it after finishing a combo, but we will get into that a little bit later. Right now, you simply use this action repeatedly. Additionally, you start with a trait known as Greased Lightning. This trait reduces your global recast timer, or global cooldown as it is more commonly known, or GCD for short. It reduces it by 5%, reducing your GCD from 2.5 to 2.375 by default. The GCD affects all weapon skills, and so they are typically referred to as GCDs. If you want to learn more about GCDs, oGCDs and weaving, please see the video in the top right corner. At level 4, you learn the weapon skill True Strike. Whenever you use Bootshine, you will enter Raptor form, which is required to be able to use True Strike. Using True Strike then changes you to Squirrel form, which becomes relevant later. At this point, the rotation consists of alternating between Bootshine and True Strike. At level 6, you learn the weapon skill Snap Punch, which is only available when in Squirrel form. Using Snap Punch changes you to Opo form. Take note that Snap Punch does slightly more damage when you use it from the flank of an enemy. Unless an enemy is designed to automatically always count your positional as correct, it will have part of its targeting reticle missing. The 90-degree angles on both sides of an enemy counts as the flank, but don't worry about that when you are fighting an enemy on your own, as they will always turn to face you again. Don't delay Snap Punch for the sake of using it at the right position, as it is much more important that you use the GCD immediately when it becomes available. Opo form makes your combo starters like Bootshine have an additional effect. In this case, Bootshine will always deal a critical hit, by default 40% more damage. This of course means that the rotation consists of cycling through Bootshine, True Strike and then Snap Punch repeatedly. In a fight with multiple players, where you can make use of positionals, be aware that Snap Punch does more damage from the side of the target. At level 15, you unlock the Chakra Gauge, alongside the pseudo ability Meditation. While abilities normally can be used between GCDs, Meditation still adheres to the GCD, and it will incur a global 1 second cooldown every time you use it. For this reason, you should only use this ability either when you're not in combat, or when you are running to your target, or for some other reason cannot be in range to attack. When Meditation is cast, you gain 1 chakra stack out of 5. If you're not in combat, it instead grants all 5 immediately. When you have 5 chakra stacks, this ability turns into Steel Peak, which does some damage and can be used between your GCDs. When you have Steel Peak available, use it between 2 GCDs as soon as possible for some free bonus damage. Make sure to spam Meditation until your Chakra Gauge is full whenever you have nothing else to do. Because of how Meditation works, at this level you should expect to have 1 and only 1 Steel Peak per fight. At level 18, you learn the weapon skill Twin Snakes. This action is an alternative to True Strike that also applies the buff Disciplined Fist, which increases all damage you do for 15 seconds. Every second cycle through your 1-2-3 combo, you want to use Twin Snakes to make sure the buff is always active. This changes your rotation to cycle through 2 sequences back and forth. Additionally, at the start of a fight, delay Steel Peak until after Disciplined Fist has been applied. At level 20, your trait, Greased Lightning, upgrades to reduce your GCD by 10%, reducing it to 2.25 by default. The main takeaway is that it means your rotation moves along slightly faster. At level 26, you learn the weapon skill Arm of the Destroyer. This action is an area of effect, or AoE for short, alternative to Bootshine. At this level, if there are 3 or more targets, it is better to just repeatedly use Arm of the Destroyer, only occasionally using Twin Snakes, not bothering to finish the combo at all. At level 30, you learn the weapon skill Demolish. This action is an alternative to Snap Punch that applies a damage over time effect, or DOT for short, to the target. Dots do damage every 3 seconds, so if your target will live at least 9 seconds, Demolish is better than Snap Punch. Due to the duration of Demolish, combined with your fast GCD, it is better to only use Demolish every 3rd cycle. Additionally, Demolish does slightly more damage if you use it from the rear of your target, which is the open part of the targeting reticle as shown here. You can alternate between the flank and the rear by simply hanging out right where the reticle line disappears and just taking single steps to either side depending on what positional you require. This changes your rotation to start being slightly complicated, where every 2 cycles you use Twin Snakes, but every 3 cycles you use Demolish on single targets. Also at level 30, doing your class quest line will eventually lead you to the Monk quest, which is available once you complete the main scenario quest, Self-Management. Once you unlock the Monk, remember to equip your Soul Crystal to change into the Monk job. The starting action of the Monk is Rockbreaker. Rockbreaker is an AoE alternative to Snap Punch and Demolish. If there are 3 targets, then Rockbreaker beats Snap Punch, and if there are 4 targets, it beats Demolish. This does mean that on 2 or 3 targets, you will be using primarily Demolish as your finisher, spreading it among as many of the targets as you can, but on 4 targets, you just use Rockbreaker as your finisher. At level 35, you learn the ability Thunderclap, which lets you dash to a party member or an enemy in a flash. Thunderclap has up to 2 charges and 1 readies every 30 seconds. Since this ability does no damage, you should only use it for mobility. It enables you to dash out of a boss mechanic at the very last moment by dashing to a friend and then dash back in once it is safe again. At level 38, you learn the trait Deep Meditation, which makes critical hits with Weaponskills have an 80% chance to grant you 1 chakra stack. This will primarily happen through Opo boot shines, but in general, this is the reason why you should use Steel Peak as quickly as possible when it is available, to avoid getting a chakra stack but with no space to hold it. This trait makes Steel Peak a lot more prominent in your single target rotation, but otherwise your rotation is unchanged. At level 40, you learn the ability Howling Fist, which is an AoE alternative to Steel Peak. While Howling Fist is an ability you can place on your hotbars, unlike Steel Peak, they both consume 5 chakra stacks to use. With 2 or more targets, Howling Fist is superior to Steel Peak and should be used instead. Additionally, in the rare event that you are too far away to attack an enemy with melee, but are within 10 yalms, you can use Howling Fist as a makeshift ranged attack. Also at level 40, your trait Greased Lightning upgrades to 15%, further reducing your GCD down to 2.125. At level 42, you learn the ability Mantra, which makes you and all your allies near you receive more healing from healing actions. This means this action is almost useless when playing alone, but can be useful in a group setting to help your healer recover from large amounts of damage. At level 45, you learn the weapon skill 4-Point Fury, which is an AoE alternative to True Strike and Twin Snakes, and additionally also applies the same buff as Twin Snakes. On 4 or more targets, this makes your rotation revolve only around using the AoE weapon skills. For 3 targets, use Arm of the Destroyer, 4-Point Fury, and spread Demolish, unless you expect the enemies to not survive very long, in which case, Rockbreaker may be better. At level 50, you learn the ability Perfect Balance, which makes your next 3 weapon skills act as if you are in the correct form, regardless of whether you are or not. Perfect Balance holds 2 charges and generates 1 every 40 seconds. Take note that once Perfect Balance ends, you are left in no form, so at this level, you should preferably do both Perfect Balance casts back to back to minimize the amount of times you have to start from scratch. You also learn the weapon skill Dragon Kick, which is an alternative to Bootshine and Arm of the Destroyer. Due to it being far stronger without its Opo form bonuses than Bootshine, you want to use this action when starting from no form. When you use Dragon Kick while in Opo form, it grants you Leaden Fist, which makes your next Bootshine do much more damage. For this reason, you should only use Bootshine when affected by this buff. Typically, this leads to the first 2 cycles starting with Dragon Kick and then alternating between Bootshine and Dragon Kick. The optimal way to use Perfect Balance for damage on a single target is to alternate between Dragon Kick and Bootshine. Make sure to start with Dragon Kick to reboot your rotation once your Perfect Balance ends. On 3 targets, Perfect Balance is best used to spread Demolish, leaving you time to use Rockbreaker, while on 4 or more targets, it is better to use Perfect Balance on just Rockbreaker. In any case, try to make sure the buff Disciplined Fist from Twin Snakes or 4-Point Fury has as much duration as possible before you start. Due to the amount of buffs and debuffs you need to keep track of quickly as a monk, you may find it useful to make use of the status effect split up feature in the HUD layout. You want to be easily able to see your Leaden Fist and Disciplined Fist buffs and also Demolish on your target. To round off, let's cover single target and AoE rotations at level 50. For single target, your opener is as follows: Dragon Kick, Twin Snakes weaving Steel Peak, Demolish, Dragon Kick weaving Perfect Balance, Boot Shine, Dragon Kick, Boot Shine weaving Perfect Balance again, Dragon Kick, Boot Shine, Dragon Kick, Dragon Kick. Should Steel Peak be ready again through this sequence, then use it as soon as possible. After this, your rotation properly begins. Steel Peak should be used between 2 GCDs whenever it is available. When Perfect Balance is near 2 charges, refer to the previously mentioned opener as to how you can manage it. Make sure to use Perfect Balance between 2 GCDs. Your rotation consists of 3 pairs of actions. If Dragon Kick's buff is up, you use Boot Shine when in Opo form. In all other cases, you use Dragon Kick. For Raptor form, if Twin Snake's buff is up and will stay up for at least 6 more seconds, use True Strike. Otherwise, use Twin Snakes. For Coil form, if Demolish will last plenty of time yet, use Snap Punch. Otherwise, use Demolish. This simplifies to the following: alternate between Dragon Kick and Boot Shine, alternate between Twin Snakes and True Strike, use Demolish on every 3rd cycle and Snap Punch on the other 2 cycles. If you find this difficult to manage, you can, add or loss, simplify the rotation further to simply do the 3 buff debuff actions and then the 3 upfront damage actions. For 2 targets, your only change is that Demolish should be active on both targets, so you instead only use Snap Punch on every 3rd cycle. For 3 targets, you use Arm of the Destroyer and 4-Point Fury instead of Dragon Kick, Boot Shine and Twin Snake's True Strike. You should apply Demolish to all 3 targets if you can manage it, otherwise use Rockbreaker. For 4 or more targets, you replace Demolish entirely by Rockbreaker. The optimal use of Perfect Balance for multi-targets is as follows. For 2 targets, use Dragon Kick, Boot Shine. For 3 targets, use Demolish on each target once. If you choose to use both charges, use Rockbreaker 3 times after that. For 4 or more targets, use Rockbreaker. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or anything to add, please leave a comment down below. Fun fact, before Shadowbringers, Monk actually had both Steel Peak and Howling Fist as regular abilities on cooldowns. They could be used individually as they did not share cooldown either.